Mother! Oh, God! Mother! Blood! Blood!
If you want a revolution, the only solution, evolve. If you want a revolution.
It's not as if she were a maniac. A maniac.
Welcome back once more for Horror Month 2013.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Dave and I are going to review one of our favorite horror films.
Yeah, we are. and that is true.
Way to chime in, Dave.
I know. I'm here, Vince.
So, what movie are we going to review that has just came out on Blu-ray for the first time through Scream Factory, the great and fantastic Scream Factory?
Well, that will be Psycho 2.
So, as per always, they decided on doing artwork for Psycho, but the studio would not allow it. So they ended up doing the poster, the original movie poster for the front of the Blu-ray on the slipcover.
And if you look on the inside of the disc, it has just basically pictures from the inside of the movie. So they did add a few little things here and there on the inside of the disc, but I would have liked to seen a Scream Factory original cover for this. I bet they could have done something really awesome.
Studio wouldn't allow it this time around, so we got the original poster art, which is fine. I liked that poster anyway, but I would love to see what Scream Factory could have come up with.
Alright, so I got to talk a little bit about Psycho 2. When this actually came out, I had seen Psycho, in the past, but to me it wasn't one of those classic movies. So I was still a teenager then, but this really, for some reason, just piqued my interest. I don't know what it was about Psycho 2, because I had heard of Psycho and I had probably seen parts and pieces of it, but I didn't really know what it was. But I was actually looking forward to watching Psycho 2. I don't know why, but I just was.
I grew up on Psycho. Psycho was like one of the first horror films that I ever watched. My grandmother watched a lot of Alfred Hitchcock, all of that. She'd watched Twilight Zone and Night Gallery and shows like that. So the first time I ever got to see Psycho, I watched it with my grandmother, and I remember it scared the crap out of me. And not this the scene that everybody knows about, which is of course the shower scene. That one actually didn't scare me. What scared me was the end of the movie. So when Psycho 2 came out, I immediately wanted to see it. But like Dave, I was also too young to go and see it at the theaters. So I always saw it on VHS and cable TV.
And the weird thing about Psycho 2 is I used to watch it all the time. It was one of those movies that I just watched constantly when I was a kid. I don't know why, but I absolutely loved Psycho 2. I'd watch it over and over and over, even though I never saw the first one or knew very little about the first one. I just loved the second one. It was such a great story, and it's literally been probably about 22 years since I've seen this movie.
It hasn't been quite that long for me. I finally bought this on DVD, and I bought the little set that they had, the little triple feature set, where it had Psycho 2, 3, and then 4. That was the first time I'd seen it in quite a while, since television. I've waited a while for it to finally come to Blu-ray, and now Scream Factory has done that for me.
Yeah, I've never owned it. I've never bought Psycho 2, Psycho 3, Psycho 4. I have the original Psycho on Blu-ray, and that is amazing. I mean, if you've never picked that up, absolutely do it. It's incredible. But yeah, I've never owned any of the Psycho, so it's kind of exciting for me to finally get a hold of Psycho 2. And not to mention, Scream Factory was doing this. I was really excited to get a hold of this to see what they would do with it. Unfortunately, Vince, I can't say that they did a whole lot with it.
Okay, so let's get into what they did, because I would have to agree with you, Dave.
All right, the first thing I guess we need to talk about is the first thing on the disc, and that's the auto? No, I don't think there's auto Psycho.
That would be like a Psycho car, I guess. Just,
The audio commentary with Tom Holland.
And then we're in the diner set.
That's
Richard Franklin
with
playing
his
the game.
with his back turned to us playing that video game.
There he goes. He acknowledged Norman. He turned for a second.
Yeah, so that's Richard doing Hitchcock, but he's much too thin.
All right, so this commentary with Tom Holland, it's him and another guy talking, basically, about the movie. And I did not find this commentary that interesting whatsoever. The guy just was kind of boring. The other guy was asking him questions. He seemed like he was into it a little bit more than this guy was. So I don't know. Every time he asked him something, the guy's like, "Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah," but the guy would never give information, himself. I don't think.
yeah. So he's asking Tom Holland questions, and they're rather interesting questions, I will say that. But the guy never really fully answers them. He starts to answer them a little bit, and then he starts rambling on about other films that he's done, specifically Fright Night.
Yeah, I remember that. He's like talking about something. He's like, "Oh yeah, yeah," and he never answers the questions half the time.
He starts rambling on about Fright Night. Well, yeah, that's just like we did on Fright Night, and when I was directing Fright Night, that's how we did it on Fright Night.
I don't know. I didn't really like the commentary. I found myself, my mind wandering, thinking about other things. Phenomena. Yeah, so not that great of a commentary. So what's up next on the disc here, Vince?
Okay, the first special feature on this disc is a behind the scenes kind of thing, and it just says like video footage or interviews or something. It doesn't really even have any titles. It's weird, Dave. It's weird.
You okay, Vince?
Now, 22 years later, a sequel to Hitchcock's classic has been produced, Psycho 2.
What is... explain it, Dave, because...
Well, basically all it is old interviews with the actors, and Anthony Perkins is in it. The woman who plays, I can't think what her name is. There was an original one, Vera Miles.
Yeah, Vera Miles.
And she's in it. Nothing new. I mean, these are old interviews, obviously, since Anthony Perkins isn't alive anymore.
It looked like somebody had taken a videotape and recorded this old TV show. They actually just stuck the tape in the player and then recorded it off of somebody's TV.
That's what it looks like. And the audio is so bad on here, it was cutting my audio out on my player. It was literally, the audio would go out and they were talking, and it was clipping so bad, you couldn't hear what they're saying. The amplifier was cutting out.
Now, please sit down.
The video itself does that. The audio goes in and out.
Yeah, it was just terrible. It was one of the worst extras I've seen on any disc. I don't know what Scream Factory was thinking with this. Maybe they had 0 extras for Psycho 2 and they were just trying to find something to show, but, you know, this would have been better left not shown.
It was vintage video footage for what it was. It wasn't bad. It was like somebody sat there and recorded it off their television and then put it on the Blu-ray. It's just the way they did it is horrible. And it's probably the worst thing I've seen Scream Factory ever do.
Except for the next thing, which is theatrical trailers.
It's 22 years later. And Norman Bates is coming home.
That was just as bad. Once again, it looked like a 1980s VHS tape.
Yeah, it was bad. It was like really bad. I mean, how many times did we have to hear it's 22 years later? It's 22 years later.
It's 22 years later.
I mean, they said that catch tagline at least 50 times and throughout this entire behind the scenes everything on here.
Then we have TV spots.
It's 22 years later. Norman Bates is coming home.
Now, these were actually a little bit better. I don't know. The video was a little bit better on it. It seemed a little clearer.
So they have this other weird thing on here, which is terrible. And I couldn't even listen to it. I listened to about 15 to 20 minutes of this and I turned it off. It was that bad. It's basically they're playing... I don't even know what it was. It's like they're playing TV commercials while you're watching the movie with some interviews with Anthony Perkins and, you know, some of the other people in the movie. And then there was like one scene in there they were playing like the Jaws music or something. And that's the point where I turned it off. It's just terrible.
But you know what I heard first was...
It's 22 years later. Alfred Hitchcock.
Well, let's hope that after they've seen Psycho, everybody walks out of the house a psycho.
Just as Jaws made everyone afraid to go near the water.
Well, the very last thing on here is the still galleries, which is still photographs from the movie, and they show behind-the-scenes photos and the movie posters and whatnot.
But the one good thing I can say about this disc is the picture quality was really good.
The video, the transfer, it looks spectacular. The movie looks great. The sound is great.
Actually, it's a great menu. It's like one of the best menus that Scream Factory has done, I think. I really, really like the menu. It's
a really cool menu. I really like the menu to it as well. And I wish Scream Factory would do that more. I hope they do that more.
Yeah, I mean, that was like one of the best things on here. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be such a cool DVD to watch. No, out of all the Scream Factory DVDs that I own, the biggest disappointment ever. There's nothing on this disc that is remotely watchable, let alone entertaining. So I would have to give Psycho 2 Blu-ray a 2
out of all the Scream Factory Blu-rays I have. Yeah, this is the most disappointing one. I do like what they did with the movie itself and the menu. So I would have to give Psycho 2, the Blu-ray, a 2 as well.
Just terrible. Absolutely terrible. And I hate to say that because, you know, Scream Factory is probably my favorite company now releasing these movies.
Yeah, I think we got a little bit jaded watching The Fog and Phantasm 2 and all the Blu-rays that we've watched this month with all that stuff on it. Now we see this and we're like, huh?
What happened?
Oh, what?
That's exactly what it is. Psycho 3 is our next review, so you might want to check it out.
And it'll be great, hopefully.
Yeah, okay, man.
back.